Hey everybody, it's Trudy here, One Grounded Angel. This is about my 10th take of recording this video because I have had multiple sound problems. So I'm going to try and be at peace here and not let my frustration show, and go through these cards I've already shuffled. Again, let's hope this works. If you're watching this, it worked, thank goodness. Okay, so this is for the week June the 4th, Monday, June the 4th to Sunday, June the 10th. And the first card that came up was this beautiful card, Happy, Happy. And it's about being happy now. So not looking to external situations to make you happy, not going, I'll be happy when I lose weight, I'll be happy when I retire, I'll be happy when I get married, whatever it is. It's very dangerous to stake your happiness on that, because there's a good chance that when you get there, you will be disappointed because you still feel the same way. And this happens. There are studies showing that people lose weight. Often they end up feeling depressed or just really disappointed because they still don't like themselves, because they've concentrated on something external to bring them validation that hasn't worked. We can't go outside ourselves to look for to bring us in a fulfillment. It's an inside job. That's why they say happiness is an inside job. I know that's a naff saying, but this is really about you looking around your life right now and recognizing the beauty and the value in it. I know that you are not yet where you want to be. I know that, because we're here to evolve and grow. So of course there's still more things to learn and more things to reach for, but you need to kind of be patient with that process, because you're not deficient just because you're not at that point you want to be at right now. You've got all the ingredients right now to be perfectly happy. And the more you practice that happiness, the easier it will be for you to progress to that path that you've set your sights on. I share the Abraham Hicks quote a lot. I'm paraphrasing a bit because I can't remember it exactly. The reason you want to get to where you want to get to is because you think you'll be happy when you get there. But if you're not happy now, you can't get to there. And if you're not happy on the way to there, you can't get there. We need to be happy with what is while reaching for more. So this card is asking you to look around your life right now and be grateful for all the wonderful things you've got. And the search for romance, because as you're about to see, all the cards have a lot of romantic energy this week. The search for romance is a really great analogy for this, because often we think that a relationship will fulfill us, and then we get the relationship and we realize how much hard work it is, and that just because someone loves us doesn't make us necessarily think that we're a good person, even though we're taught to look, especially as women, to look for our validation in the opinions or the emotional sentiment of other people, and that's a dangerous track to go down. So in terms of a relationship, if we can look at the love that's already in our lives, we will start to attract other levels of love, such as romantic. So this is asking you essentially to practice gratitude. And there are, I don't know if there's studies proving it, but there is certainly a lot of anecdotal evidence out there about how powerful it is. When you start looking at the donut, not the whole, you really start to get a greater appreciation for your life. It helps you feel more present, and it helps you feel like you're enough. So the next card is Caressa. This particular card deck is called Messages from Your Angels, and each of the cards is named after a particular angel. So this is Caressa. If your name happens to be Caressa, happy days. This is probably a sign for you. I talked last week a lot about cycles and how the nature and how life moves in cycles. We forget about this. We think our life is quite linear, but in actual fact, we go from summer into autumn. The trees lose their leaves, letting go of the dead things so they can make space for the process of new growth to happen over winter, and then in spring they sprout. So nature's got it down. Nature gets that life moves in cycles. We're not so good at that. So if, again, with the relationship example, if you're no longer in the honeymoon period, that's okay. It doesn't mean you're no longer, in love because you're not feeling the same giddiness. This is asking you to accept the end of whatever cycle is coming to a close for you. Some of you, this will be big things. Some of you, it'll be small things. So, for example, a really great end, which doesn't look like a great end at the time, for me was redundancy. And I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but I've been made redundant 3 times, and each time I've been better off. Each time I was in a bad situation and I needed to get out and I was too scared to leave. So I was always better off, and what came up next was better for me. Very difficult to accept that at the time, though. especially since what happened was not on my schedule. I didn't sever that tie. It was forced upon me, and that leads to some feelings of anger and resentment. So that's a bigger thing that can come to the end, but it might be smaller things coming to an end for you. Maybe your personal trainer's moving away and you've got to look at a whole new form of exercise, for example. Maybe other endings are coming up, like your lease is coming up for renewal or something like that. So, although potentially that's quite a big end, in my opinion, especially if you live in Sydney where it's really hard to find a decent house to rent. I'll close that one off because that's not a good energy to set, because it helps us attract a situation where it is very hard to find a house to rent. So essentially this is asking you to remember that what's ahead is always better than what you're leaving behind. So be okay with letting go of what's coming to a close. Don't try to cling on, and don't try to force things to go a certain way. Next card was decide to be happy now. So, I mean, this was just such a beautiful repetition of this message here. You have enough right now. You have all the ingredients right now to be happy. And try to, if you feel like your whole life is rushing around trying to get things done, or rushing around failing at getting things done, this would be a very strong message for you, because your happiness doesn't come from accomplishing things or your productivity. It comes from you just simply being at peace with how things are right now and knowing that it's enough. You might benefit from some mindfulness activities if this is hard for you to be present, some creativity, things that will put you back into the moment. Because it's again that rushing around, that kind of quest for productivity takes us into a zone of looking outside ourselves for something. We're trying to validate ourselves and prove that we are enough. Or, we talk about imposter syndrome a lot when it comes to women. That means women who don't feel like they are good enough to have the job they've got, and so they can be overachievers trying to prove that they deserve it. And the truth is that it's not other people validating you or approving of you that would give you that, because it will never convince you that you're enough. You have to believe that you're enough and work on that, creating that belief within yourself. It can't come from other people. Thursday was Beloved One, and this is a relationship card, even though it doesn't really look like it. So Archangel Chamuel, who's pictured on this card, he helps us find things that are missing. So if you grew up knowing about the saints, perhaps you were forced to go to a Catholic school like me, you might be familiar with Saint Anthony. This is kind of the same deal. Chamuel, Anthony, they help you find things that are missing. So I guess it's an interesting idea here, because when we're single, it's easy to think that something's missing in our lives. And that's simply not true. You're already complete. There's nothing missing. But this is asking you, if you want a relationship, you certainly have the ability to attract it. So it's not about finding it, it's about attracting it. So I do kind of struggle with the wording of this card, but I take the central theme from it, which is that talk to the angels to find whatever you want to bring into your life. And that applies if you're already in a relationship, because as you probably are well aware, relationships are a lot of work, and they're an ongoing dance between two people and an ongoing energy exchange. And it's very easy to drop the ball, to take each other for granted, to forget to have conversations that are about how you feel and how you feel about each other. Instead, your conversations can become quite functional in terms of the kids, the house, the finances, etc. And you can forget to have dates, or do things that are fun together or anything like that. And so look at where you might have dropped the ball a bit in your relationship, and what you can do to right that balance, to really kind of enhance that energy between you. Because when relationships get neglected, there's room for deterioration, and that's not what you want, I'm sure. If you did want that, you'd just be ending it, presumably. So we're up to Friday now. Cupid. I mean, obviously this has got relationship connotations here. So the idea of Cupid I find really interesting, because Cupid is, we see in popular culture the idea of Cupid as being like this kind of cherub-like divine force that will strike an arrow into a suitable soulmate and bring them into our lives. And of course, the whole thing about finding a relationship is nonsense. You don't find it. It's something that you attract. It's a very active kind of dynamic exchange, I guess. Or step. It's not something passive. As far as I know, there's no Uber app for relationships yet, although perhaps that's the next big thing. I've tried to put it in order to the universe many times. It was never delivered. Well, I guess it has been delivered now, but I don't see that as a delivery. I see that as something I went out and got by doing the work on myself, by developing my relationship on myself primarily. The reason I wasn't attracting anybody at that point was because I was looking to someone to fulfill me and make me feel complete. And it wasn't until I learned to make myself feel complete that I could attract a good person. All I was attracting before that were people who didn't want to treat me well. Well, no wonder I didn't want to treat myself well either. So really this card, I've gone a bit off track, I know, sorry about that. Really this card is asking you to look at how you can attract what you want into your life, and particularly when it comes to relationships. And it might be that you are in a long-term relationship and there's something about it's not quite, I don't want to say deficient, but maybe there's some work to do there. And what can you do to make that happen? So the romantic energy, which is so strong this week, is not just about relationships. For example, one thing that in the video, which you can't actually hear me speak, that I've now deleted, I did talk a lot about how the energy that was coming through to me was around being in love with your life. And of course, it's not possible to be in love with every single element of your life. You cannot, not everybody loves their job. I go in and out of loving the work I do. It's always going to be challenging. And I don't think, that whole quote about if you find a work you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I think that's nonsense. There's always going to be difficult elements about work. It's always going to be a job. So I be wary about that idea. But in terms of falling in love with your life, look at where there's passion in your life. Are you doing an activity you're passionate about? And if you're single and you want to attract a passionate relationship, if there's no passion in your life, that's not going to happen, because we need to embody what we want to attract in some form. If you're not recognizing the love that's already in your life, you're not going to be able to attract that. So look at your ability to attract some form of love in some area of your life where it's deficient. It doesn't have to be relationships. It might be in your workplace. It might be maybe you needing to have love for your body even. Saturday, peaceful. So this is an interesting one because it's a kind of, to me, it harks back to this message here, because it's letting you know that there's already peace within you. It's just buried under layers of stress and anxiety and tension. And the challenge for you is to dig deep into it. And of course, one of the best ways to do that is meditation. I know, I bang on about meditation too much, but honestly, it is the single greatest thing you could possibly do for yourself. I can't speak highly enough for it. And I'm aware that it's not for everybody, and I'm aware that a lot of people feel that they suck at it and they give it up. And so look, there are other things you can do, mindfulness activities being a really important one, yoga, anything that brings you into the present is going to help you really tap into that peace. Again, don't go looking outside yourself for it. Of course, it's great to go to yoga. It's great to go on retreats. It's great to go and see your counselor, but they're not giving you something or those places are not giving you something that you don't already have. It's just that it's coming to the fore when it's attracted, it's coming to the fore when you're in a place where there is peace, if that makes sense. And being outside in nature is also one of the greatest ways you can kind of tap into that stillness, because the energy of things that are growing, like plants and birds, things that are alive, is bringing that vibration to the fore within you. It's not that you're borrowing the peace from there, it's that it's being reflected. I don't know if that made sense, but anyway, essentially this is asking you to find more peace. And one thing I was talking about earlier was that it felt to me like some of you were at war within yourselves. And I don't know if one of the reasons that video failed is because I wasn't supposed to talk about that, and maybe there was something I talked about that was wrong, and maybe that's why it failed. Who knows? Sometimes there is no value in looking for a reason, but I'm going to talk about this briefly because there may be some of you who fit into this category. If you are at war with in yourself because you're trying to be something you're not, talked about this a lot last week with the indigo messages, or you are or you are neglecting something within you that needs to be expressed, perhaps your creative side. Maybe you are doing a job that because your parents wanted you to do it and it's not actually right for you. If you're at war within yourself in some way because you don't like yourself, all these reasons, this is asking you to really find that peace within yourself, make peace with what's going on. And it might be about acceptance, it might be about you making changes. You can't get peace from somewhere else. It has to come from within you. So how can you, if you can't change your circumstances, how can you find peace within yourself? It doesn't mean putting up with things that are not good, by the way. It just means acceptance is about not railing against things that you actually can't change. It's about changing the way you respond to them. Sunday, Guinevere, true love. I mean, it's not hard to see the parallels here between this and the previous cards. So again, it's asking you to bring back the romance. So it might be within your relationship, date night, something like that, even just tender gestures. I often talk about if you're struggling to find the romance in your relationship because you feel like it's got a bit staid, think back to when you first started dating. Were there places you used to go or things you used to say to each other or something like that? That can really kind of bring back that energy, going back to those places or watching that movie again or something like that. And again, if you're single, how can you bring back the love into your life? I used to buy myself flowers and occasionally jewellery when I was single, not because I was doing that to say, haha, universe, look at me, so much love in my life, now you can send me one, right? You can't really fool the universe in that way, although I did try that several times. I started to do it because I wanted to bring love into my life, and this was a way I could do it. And because I was saying to the universe, I know how to treat myself well, and I believe this is how I'm proving that I'm worthy. I know I'm worthy of love. And it was genuine. When we try to trick the universe in some way, it's not going to work. So if you're doing that to kind of pretend that you know your worth, but there's actually a part of you that doesn't feel like you're valuable or you're worthy, that's not going to work. So we need to be aligned within ourselves as well. Gone off on a bit of a tangent there too, but essentially this is asking you about where are you not in love with your life and what can you do about that. So it doesn't take an experienced angel card reader to work out that there are some strong themes here, and you guys would be well aware of that. So being happy with where we are right now, I always talk about looking at the donut, not the whole. It's so true that when someone says something to us, they might say 10 beautiful, encouraging things, but if I say one thing that we perceive as negative, that is the thing we will focus on, and we will overlook all the positive things. So this is really asking you to override that tendency for negativity or cynicism, and to really look at the things that are good in your life. Those are the things that are worthy of celebration. And the more you are grateful for what you have, the more you will attract blessings. And that's part of the law of attraction. So we also have these themes about romance energy, again, not necessarily relating to relationships, although if that's an area that needs some work for you, you know what you have to do. But also I feel like it's really about not looking outside yourself to bring in things that are missing, I guess. Try to see yourself as complete, and the things that you are looking for as going to be a bonus in your life. So, but you don't fill that with something outside yourself. And you would know yourself. If you've ever tried to make yourself feel better with junk food or alcohol, it doesn't work for very long. And that's because you're looking for something to buoy up your emotions, and actually the only way we can really soothe ourselves is by treating ourselves well and being kind to ourselves, and really telling ourselves that things will pass and they will get better. So, yeah, again, not looking outside yourself to find peace. And one trick we often do with that one is to go, as soon as this work project quietens down, things will be peaceful. And that might be the case. It might well be that your work gets much easier, but if there's not a way of finding peace within you or channeling peace within you, you would get to the end of that project and you still wouldn't be quite comfortable. So I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but there would still not be automatically peace within you, is what I'm saying, because you haven't learned how to tap into it. That said, I'm starting to get a bit hoarse because I've recorded this video so many times. hopefully this works. So if you are not already following me on Instagram, and I presume most of you are, since that seems to be how most people find my YouTube videos, but my Instagram account, if you don't already know, is at @OneGroundedAngel, ONE, not the number one, so spout out. And my Facebook page, of course, is also called One Grounded Angel. If you want to reach me for a personal reading, the best way to do that is via my website, www.onegroundedangel.com. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a beautiful, love-filled week.